Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal Executive Council says petrol supply will normalize by May 2016. Senate vows to throw its weight behind Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki as he defends himself before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Aviation unions force Arik Air to shut down domestic operations over alleged 12.5 billion naira debt. And mass murderer Anders Breivik wins part of a human rights case against the Norwegian state. But do remember that all our top stories are on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. And do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. And we encourage you to interact with the Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app. If you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the app on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
We can now share with you some of those pictures that were sent in to us. And let's begin with this one from Bako bus stop in Pt.2 area of Lagos, showing a drainage blocked by plastic bottles. Our eyewitness reporter wants the drainage cleared to forestall floods as the rains draw near. From Ogun State comes this picture of a fallen electricity pole. Our eyewitness reporter expresses concern over the danger it portends and pleads with men of the Power Holding Company of Nigeria to fix it quickly. Also on electricity is this next photo from Udu local government area of Delta State, showing people whom our eyewitness reporter says are protesting against alleged poor power supply. And next is this image from Oyo State, showing an accident scene. Our eyewitness reporter says the accident was caused by a tanker, which he says passed through the town rather than the expressway. He's calling on the federal government to complete work on the expressway to prevent a recurrence. And finally is this photo from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, showing a bridge. He alleges the project has been abandoned, causing hardship to residents, and he wants the affected authorities to fix it.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thanks a lot for sending in all your pictures, and we ask you to please keep them coming. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked the leadership of the Senate to immediately withdraw the summon for Justice Danladi Umar, chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, to appear before its Ethics Committee. In a statement issued by SERAP's Executive Director Adetokunbo Mumuni, the group says the Senate cannot grant to itself the power to summon judges without violating constitutional safeguards. Part of the statement reads, quote, "The Senate does not have the power to summon any judge, including Justice Umar. If there's any credible allegation of corruption against Justice Umar, it ought to be dealt with by the appropriate law enforcement agencies, and that cannot be the Senate," end of quote. The group adds that the summon represents a direct assault upon the principle of judicial independence, as it undermines the constitutional principle of separation of powers. SERAP also says that the Senate is in no sense a court, police or anti-corruption agency, and for it to attempt to act as one would bring about legal and political problems. The Defense Headquarters today alleged that it has intelligence reports that Boko Haram terrorists have now devised another means of recruiting unsuspected youths into their fold. According to an unsigned statement posted on the Defense Headquarters website, the terrorists have resorted to providing loans to young entrepreneurs and artisans in the northeast as a way of luring them. The major targets, according to the report, are butchers, traders, tailors, beauticians and other vocational entrepreneurs who are being enticed with such loans. The beneficiaries are given the option of either joining the group or risk being killed if they fail to pay the loan when it's due. However, it's been discovered that the payment has been programmed to fail by the benefactor. The Defense Headquarters advises the public to constantly be wary of various tactics being adopted by members of the sect. The Senate has asked the country's service chiefs to continue with efforts being made to rescue the abducted Chibok girls. This was announced after a meeting between the lawmakers and service chiefs. Also in attendance was the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the State Security Services. Following the meeting, the Deputy Senate President, Senator Arik Air Management, said efforts made to rescue the Chibok girls in the past 2 years were reviewed. The security chiefs also addressed questions regarding national security.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate, in a closed session, was briefed by the Director General, State Security Service, and the Inspector General of Police on the abduction of the Chibok schoolgirls and efforts to rescue them within the last 2 years. We urge them to continue and should leave no stone unturned to achieve a rescue of the Chibok girls. Thereafter, they answered questions bordering on other topical national security issues from very distinguished senators.
No, I have 15. Hundreds of passengers are said to have been stranded today at the General Aviation Terminal in Lagos as an aviation union protest shut down domestic operations of Arik Air. The aviation unions claim the carrier owes about 12.5 billion naira to the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria for services previously rendered. Arik Air, in a press statement, says it's suspending its domestic operations, and it describes the actions of the workers' union as improper.
Surprise, we came here to fly to Enugu and my daughter to fly to Abuja, 4 of us, and we only came and saw the labor people blocked the whole place, singing that the Arik should pay their staff and pay their dues of 12-point-something billion or whatever, and which we don't understand. And how could that affect the passengers? I mean, it makes me feel bad, and it makes everybody feel bad, because a lot of us have something very important to do to our different destinations, and now here we are, waiting on, not knowing when we have to go back to.
And joining me now on the news at 10 to look at the face-off between the union and Arik Management is the Managing Director, Arik Air, Mr. Chris Ndulwe. I'm also joined by the National President of the Air Transport Senior Association of Nigeria, Mr. Benjamin Okewu. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the news at 10. But let me begin with you, Mr. Ndulwe. This dispute over debt is something that you've said is unsubstantiated and you're in court.
Yeah.
How would you describe what happened today then by the unions?
Yeah, what happened today is quite unfortunate and it's totally unjustifiable. We woke up this morning to hear that FAN has not allowed our staff to go into the terminal building. And then we began to ask questions, and they said we're owing them. It was later that we got to hear figures about 12.5 billion. And then, again and again, FAN has continued to brandish figures, different figures at different times, about what Arik is owing them. And what we have asked so many times is that, is there no other airline in Nigeria, whether domestic airline or foreign airline, that owes FAN? Because we've never heard that any other airline owes FAN except Arik Air. And we said, we have paid to FAN what we owe FAN, and what has been established has been outstanding. And the bulk of what is paid to FAN today is paid in advance. And that is why when people fly, we buy tickets and we stick it to the back of their boarding pass. And again, so we can't understand why this is happening, especially coming from unions. Now, we no longer hear of FAN management or any other, it's now the unions or workers of FAN that came out today to disrupt operations at the airport. Okay,
let me just give Mr. Okewu a chance to respond to what you've said. Mr. Okewu, you heard what the managing director has said. The figure is in dispute. He says Arik has paid what it owes. So why the protest today then?
Well, I think it's important that we correct the impression. What happened today was not a protest. Farm workers who render services to Arik decided that today they were withdrawing their services because Arik is not paying them for the services they are rendering. So it's different entirely from a protest. It was never a picketing, but an action taken by farm workers to say that we are not rendering services to Arik today. And I think they have the fundamental and constitutional right to decide that they are withdrawing their services for somebody or an organization that they render services to and is not paying.
But the managing director himself has said that that is not quite the case, because he says that they have paid for those services that were rendered.
Well, I think we are being economical with the truth, because I feel ashamed to always come on channels to talk about Arik claiming that they are not owing. What it means is that every other person that is claiming that Arik is owing is either a vagabond or a non-entity. Because if they are not owing, why is everybody claiming that they are owing? I must say this critically. It's easier to say, why are they not every other airline not owing? The fundamental question that the MD of Arik should answer is, why did Arik decide to pull out of the IATA platform where other international airlines are existing? They are there, and IATA is helping them to pay all their claims while they do the reconciliation on behalf of the airlines.
All right, Mr.
And they also pay.
Let me just give him a chance to respond to that. How much are you owing, if you're owing?
No, what has happened is that today every debt is pay as you go. That's what they have adopted today for all airlines. And what the bulk of what is in contention is what is coming from some years back. And that is being reconciled by a group of people set up by both Arik staff, FAN staff, set up by the Federal Ministry of Aviation to do that, to finish that reconciliation. And, you know, under normal circumstances, if you are a supplier or if you provide services to a company or an airline and you have an issue, you will notify the company that you provide services to and tell them that this is the issue. And you lay the cards on the table and you give an ultimatum possibly. And you say, look, you have to pay this amount. But these guys will ambush us in the morning. As people are waking up and going to office, they discover that the place is locked. So this is actually not in good faith. And obviously, they don't mean well. And that's the issue here. And they're obviously being used by someone or anybody just to cause problems and make sure that they stifle the airline. All right, Mr. Okewu, reconciliation is still ongoing. That's what we hear from Mr. Ndulue. Why did you not wait for that process to come through? And he's accused you of being used by someone.
I came here with a lot of documents, and I wanted to actually show the agreement reached between the federal government of Nigeria when Ajia Binta was the permanent secretary then at the level of the Federal Ministry of Aviation, where it was decided that from 1st September 2015, every airline in Nigeria will be operating with all the parastatals on the basis of pay as you go. I want to tell you categorically that between that time and now, despite the decision that let all the previous debts be reconciled and pay as you go commence, Arik, as we speak, is not implementing the pay as you go. The pay as you go that we talk about, there are several charges that FAN charges for services rendered to Arik. There are areas of about rent, passenger service charge, landing. There is also electricity and service recovery charge. All these areas are services that are meant to be paid by Arik, and they have not been paying. I have a letter on Arik letterheaded paper with me here, where it is stating the amount that FAN is claiming by their own bills that Arik is owing, and the amount that Arik have accepted that they are owing. But unfortunately, they have refused to pay what they are owing to allow for reconciliation.
Just before you come to that, we understand you withdrew from IATA. Why did you?
No, we were not paying them on the IATA platform. We never started paying FAN on the IATA platform. So I don't know what he's talking about, withdrawal. And he talked about 12.5 billion naira. What service amounts to 12.5 billion naira?
He says
I've asked them whether FAN is selling aircraft or something. Otherwise, what amounts to, is it rent of terminal and space and all that? What amounts to 12.5 billion naira? Outstanding. Arik to date has paid over 18 billion naira to FAN. And I'm hearing that we have 12.5 billion naira outstanding. So, I mean, what service are we talking about?
All right, I'm afraid that's where we're going to have to leave it, as you are in court, as you've said, to thank the National President of the Air Transport Senior Association of Nigeria, Mr. Benjamin Okewu, for joining us on the news at 10, and of course the Managing Director of Arik Air, Mr. Chris Ndulue. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Now, in the news at 10 returns, House of Representatives summons the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, over alleged breach of the 1999 Constitution. To join us again.